Man, I keep forgetting that I have to unplug my webcam. There we go. I've got like a minute left on my tea, but I didn't want to be too late. There it is. Okay, Google, stop. Okay, Google. Why am I stupid?
I don't understand.
Aw. I was hoping that would trigger something fun. I don't know why it would. Am I talking to myself or in the stream? Alright, let's see. What was I doing? Okay, so I just hit a point in the story where shit's starting to come undone. But I need to, like... I need them to have followed... Hey, Joey. I told you about this, right? Like why I do this and stuff? Oh shit. Stuff's falling apart under the desk. That's a bad line. We don't need that line. Mostly because I didn't like the writing groups down here, so I decided to... Oh, wait, hold on. And then this is just a good excuse to force myself. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be. I know I hit a point in the novel, Morning River, where I really need to figure out what I'm doing with it. No worries. If there's anybody who actually shows up, let me know. I'll say hi for me if they know me. So these chapter names suck, but yeah. See, I hit the point where, like, I know what needs to happen in this novel, but I don't know what the next step is going to be. And usually my answer to that is to go play somewhere else for a little while. That's always fun. You try to do noir while still also being the normal overblown gothic. That is hard. You know, I really like this. So I've been listening to Writing Excuses, the podcast, just like catching up because I'm like 30 episodes behind. And then anytime I come across a homework assignment that they give out that I really like, I write it down. But the one they just gave in the episode I just listened to is literally just write your main character eating a meal and like what is the character doing in that meal. And I love that, except then I realized the amount of world building I'd have to do for the food of this world. Like, it's just such a dense idea to do alien food. Yeah, that is... But that's the fun part about doing something in a different... That's disturbing, Joey. Burgers that are still bleeding.
Of kind of dithering around and nothing is really changing.
Yeah.
Nothing's really progressed.
I mean, I love meat, but I don't. Ground beef scares me when it's anything other than cooked all the way through. Steak, on the other hand, is a different story. Ugh. Alright, if I'm gonna do food, which is probably something I should do as a world building. See, this is the part I hate about not writing about writing non-human fantasy or sci-fi, is that I can't fall back on like the fantasy tropes of bread and stew. And because I'm not writing fantasy, I don't get to be like, all right, they're simple in their meals. I mean, I can, but it's a really shitty way to do it. Yeah. Also, we're going to switch up this to... Also, like, if I was doing fantasy, I could probably get away with it a little bit more. Of like, no, it's bread and stew. It's just alien bread and alien stew. But sci-fi expects... Sci-fi in a broad, functional culture that isn't eating protein cubes And they're not eating protein cubes, because I hate protein cube idea. It means I need, like, garbage snack foods that are, like, machine processed, as well as genuine food. Well, yeah, and that's why everybody does meat and stew, Joe, is because of Tolkien. Alright, where are we starting? Not in the bestiary. Let's take it to the botany. Domesticated plants. Alright. Yeah, but I'm super anal about my world building, so, like, yeah, you're right. I should just invent a few animals and move on. But I'm going to want to know everything about those animals, because that's the kind of person I am. Alright, let's start here. Are they a wheat/wheat grain, like wheat-like society, or rice? Because those are the primary grains in the world, right? What are the primary staple foods of the world? Oh, corn. I almost forgot about corn. So corn, rice, and wheat. Temperate territories are their primary method. Oh, and potato, yeah. If temperate territories are their primary method, or primary domains of territory, or preferred domain of territory. It's probably potato then, isn't it? Or soy. But I'm not worried about soy right now. It's going to be... Hello, hello, Silent. Just getting started, I decided I wanted to use an exercise I just got of, like, write my characters eating a meal, formal or fast food or whatever. But I realized, like, I don't, because they're non-human, non-Terran culture, I have to define what kinds of foods they have. So they're definitely going to have primary staple, but they're also going to definitely have secondary staple grain. So if it's temperate regions, it can't be corn. Corn doesn't grow well in primarily temperate, like Pacific Northwest England. So it's wheat or potato. And I just kind of, I'm lumping barley into wheat. It's a wheat-like grain. It's not going to be literally wheat. Potatoes are low on the D20. Oops. All right. Wheat it is, or wheat-like grain. Wheat-like grain. Ooh. Apparently yams are the 8th most common staple food in the world, according to Wikipedia. And I've never heard of the 5th, which is cassava, but it is an Indonesian staple food. Oh, it's a tuber. How is it that two people... Actually, Joe, I know how you grew up. I know that you've never eaten a yam. I was about to be like, Joe, how could you never have eaten yam? We love yams. But then I remembered. Alright, so we're going to go with a wheat-like grain because the D20 said so. Okay, so we know who's going to have... So wheat-like grain means it's a cereal grain. I'm learning so much about botany. Alright, let's learn about wheat. Is the secondary grain going to be... Because if the primary grain is wheat, our secondary grain in the US is potato? Well, other cereal grains, but the non-cereal would be potato? Corn. Corn's the US secondary grain. It's a tuber. Yeah, it's a staple. I should say staple carbohydrate is actually probably the right way to word that. Agrarian source. Trying to decide, do I want them to be a wheat and potatoes, or do I want them to be a wheat and rice civilization? And of course, the trick is they contain a bunch of other subspecies and subcultures. Stupid no-see-ums, I can't get rid of them. Where's my beastery? Where's my beastery? There it is. Yeah, you know, I was actually thinking about a rice and potato civilization. I think that might be kind of fun. Or rice. Let's see here. So we've got a carnivorous preferenced subspecies. Species. A species who I did not specify but is undoubtedly omnivorous. This is the problem with sci-fi. even if you go with the, like, aliens can all eat each other's food. Are you Latin American? Because that is a very Latin American dish. I hate tomato, so we have a very similar dish. That, and we have a green pea, like a string bean and tomato dish. South Georgia. These are specifically an herbivore. Huh. I don't know where the tomato why those link, but those link then. Are we talking national Georgia, or are we talking, like, United States Georgia? Okay. I was like, it's one of the two Georgias. That is an interesting dish, though. No, that's the fun part about having overlapping names. Because there is somebody who pops into the stream that's from Greece, so I was like, how international are we? Alright, so they're mostly omnivorous. There's one herbivore faction. There's one faction one subspecies that requires special food. You know, I think we are going to go with a rice-like grain. Apparently corn is the leading staple food in the world. Ahead of even rice. Huh. That is very far away. I'm learning all kinds of interesting things about rice and food in general. Oh, interesting. So corn is the largest staple food, or maize, technically, is the largest staple food in the world, but rice is the single most important for human food, since corn is used for so many other things. Alright, so rice is a monocot, which means what? What does that mean, Wikipedia? Flowering plants whose seeds typically contain one embryonic leaf. I don't know what any of this wheat means, Wikipedia. I'm a wheat and potatoes kind of guy. Although I'm slowly learning to eat more rice. I hated rice growing up. And I've only kind of come around on rice with Japanese food, like Japanese white rice specifically. I still don't like the Spanish brown rice that my family grew up with. That I grew up with my family. Alright, annual harvest. Requires high rainfall. Can be grown just about anywhere. So this is just rice. This is just a offshoot of rice. I can't. It was a texture thing for me, and to this day, like if my rice ends up a little overcooked and is crunchy, I can't do it. Except like I'll eat the Rice Crisps, the big puffed rice, no problem. But there was a texture thing about rice for me. So, and my dad, it wasn't like they were messing it up every time. It was just something about it. So I was always a mashed potatoes. I love mushrooms. Ooh, that would be fun. It's rice. Needs a name. So, what kind of tuber? Am I going to go with a potato tuber or a sweet potato tuber? I can't do spicy. It sucks. It limits what food I can eat. So this is going to be the only cereal grain, or near cereal grain, is the Halinwas. No, I mean, like, I can barely do... My spice tolerance is crazy low. I know I had a friend make a dish with jalapeno in it, but he removed the seeds and essentially it removed the heat of the jalapeno. And that's when I realized I didn't love the jalapeno flavor because my brain still associates it with, oh, you're gonna die now. I remember, though, I can't do black pepper. Black pepper is an allergy for me, which is a nightmare. What did I read? Nightshade. Huh. I didn't realize potatoes were from the nightshade family. Interesting. Tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, bell and chili peppers, and tobacco are all nightshade. Are all nightshades. They're an economically important family of flowering plants. That is a biology question, and that is far outside of my expertise. It is believed that the nightshades developed during the Mesozoic era. Help if I want to just... Huh, and the petunia is a nightshade. Weird. What is the reason they are all... I don't understand biology, or botany in this case. I'm very glad I didn't go into this field. This is a lot of words that I just don't understand. A fossil tomatillo found in the Patagonian region of Argentina dated to 52 million years, as tomatillos likely developed later than other nightshades. Oh, yeah, it's super important if I'm going to do things like what I'm doing. I'm just reading it and I'm like, whoa. The mandrake is a nightshade? Gosh. I think the weirdest one for me is tobacco being a nightshade. But it consists of 98 genera, and 2,700 different species. I mean, that's always fun. Especially if you're able to take good pictures of them. It's a fun series of things to do. Alright, so we have decided we are a rice and tuber civilization. Probably a potato tuber. There are over 1,000 different types of potato. Nice. Those weird obsessions are always fun. Huh. Interesting. The vegetative and fruiting parts of the potato are not fit for consumption. Don't eat the sprouts or skins, but if green sections of the plant, namely sprouts and skins, are exposed to light, the tuber can accumulate enough glycoalkaloids to affect human health. I didn't know tomatoes were a flowering plant, but I guess if they're a nightshade, they must, or was it a fruiting plant? That's cool. Potato-like tuber. Starchy. Huh. The sweet potato and the potato are not closely linked foods. Nobody knows where Spud came from. That's awesome. Right? I love sweet potatoes. Perennial. Huh. I didn't know that. Potato plants produce small green fruits resembling green cherry tomatoes. I'm learning a lot about potatoes today, guys. This is valuable world building time, right? Well, it is valuable world building, but... Perennial. And fruiting. Plant. There are 3,000 species of potato, or variety of potato, in the Andes alone. Weird. Alright, so if it's a rice and tuber society, bread is not going to be a big part of the diet, is it? Yes, but it's a very different type of flour, isn't it? Oh, also, I want to make mushrooms a major... Mushrooms. Mushroom. I love mushroom. Food staples. Yeah, and they're going to have some rough equivalent of wheat. I know specifically there's a species that is like highland temperate or like mountain region who grows a quinoa grain. But bread is vital in fantasy because of Tolkien, because it's all set in Europe, where that was like the wheat or barley or those cereal grains were the primary method of carb growth and like food. So I don't remember the Chinese or the Japanese having bread be a major part of their diet. Oh, huh. It's really stupid that there's a Wikipedia article for this. Well, it's going to be a quinoa. I mean, yeah, it has. I don't want anything made from flour. Anti-bread movement. I love Tolkien fantasy, but you can, once you start paying attention to where it comes up. So manteau is a wheat flour dish. What is Bing? Bing is a wheat flour dish. So I was Googling rice bread, but I wrote rice bread because I'm an idiot. Also, apparently there's somebody with the last name Breard. Oh, rice bread is actually way more fluffy than I thought it was. Thanks, Wikipedia. Use the foam molding technology to produce bread made from 100% rice flour.
Unread messages at your private terminal, Commander.
Okay, I'm not wrong. Like, rice flour doesn't fluff, right? Because this banh mi is a mixture of wheat flour and rice. It's gonna be noodles, isn't it? Give me the Wikipedia page for rice noodles. Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be rice noodles. It's gonna be noodles. Noodles seem like the traditional outcome when you have rice as your primary grain staple. Or a flatbread. / rice cake. Okay, so where's my culture tab? We'll use this one. Dralian culture. Why, in the name of the gods, do I not have food in here as culture? Why would I do that to myself? Oh, because I was scared of doing it. That makes sense, actually. Food! Primary grain. Agrarian. Sources. Rice. I don't know how to organize this. What is autoflour? It's a wholemeal wheat flour. Interesting. Alright, so rice... Yeah. So rice gives you... rice gives you brain fart noodles, rice cakes / flatbread. Yes, it is. There are notably a billion, but there are glutinous and non-glutinous rice. Glutinous rice is called sweet rice, but despite its name, it's neither sweet nor does it contain gluten. It is referred to as the stickiness of the rice. Fuck you, Wikipedia. Fuck you. Mochigomeko. So those are going to be your primary breads. I am the only primary breed. God, that's embarrassing. Tuber. Alright, we gotta specify this mushroom species too. I want the... Mushrooms are a really good source of... mushrooms. Ah, Penn State has a mushroom farming. It's a lot of poop. Not actually interested in the process of mushroom farming, but I am going to bookmark this because I might be a later. Fungiculture! That's a fun word. Weird. So it's indoor trays, indoor oyster mushroom farm. Why is oyster mushroom specifically? Nutritional value of mushrooms. So they're low caloric, which I don't care about. But they're good in their primary sources of fiber and protein and vitamin. Major protein source. Alright. Not primary, I want staple agrarian. There's a degree where I can't go all the way down and be like, alright, what are the basic vitamins that these people need? Because there's so many different species, and my brain will explode if I try to, like, that's just way outside of my scope of knowledge. But I did want a mushroom to be a major element of food. So you've got tubers, mushrooms, rice, and then, so your primary starches processed. Going to be rice noodles, rice cakes, unleavened bread. I wrote Breard again. Shoot. Yeah, I'm definitely a little crazy about this. Man, it's so bad. I'm so bad at doing that. So what this means is you're either going to have major dish styles are going to be either rice and side or noodle based. Basic veggies. Joe mentioned a good list of, like, temperate level veggies. Way back up here somewhere. Cabbages, tomatoes, fruits, carrots, turnips. Oh, you are 100% right. I just, what I realized was, because I'm writing non-humans in a non-human culture, a non-Terran culture, I do actually have to get a little obsessive with my world building because I can't fall back on shorthands. Or I can, but I don't like to fall back on shorthands. So I'm giving them apple-ish things. Apple. Oops. Yeah. No, and I get you. Like, this is me deciding today I'm going to just give up because I hit a pretty good spot in the novel where now I've got to really like meditate on what is the next step. And that's not the most fun thing for me to sit here and just kind of mutter to myself. And like really figure out what that next step should look like a little bit. So I figured I might as, and I didn't have any shorts that were like pending that I really wanted to work on, so I figured I might as well world build for hours. Plus this is weird, so this is kind of fun. I want there to be carrots. Onions aren't technically a vegetable, are they? Onions. Wikipedia, onion. Oh, it is a vegetable. Haha. Garlic, leek, chive, Chinese onion. What is the Chinese onion? Glittering chive, Japanese scallion, oriental. It's just a bunch of different ways to talk about a specific onion that is specific to East Asia. Onions are a perennial is that is a big piece for you. So onions are a There's a surname Onions? What is the disambiguous of onion? Oh, places and everything else. Interesting. So it's gonna just be a variant of onion. Yeah, I try not to think about that. Alright, so it's just a variant of onion, because variant of onion. Bulb plants. Alright, should I do what we think of as a traditional onion? Should they be shallots? Should they be more like green onions? They should be shallot style. Shallot style. I have met a person like that before, and I have met a person who did that as a power move, and it worked very effectively as a power move. The onion plant has a fan of hollow bluish leaves, and it's... See, I've seen that before. Or like the cherry tomatoes, just eat them like grapes. That's less disturbing than onions. Huh, I've never done that. What kind of vinegar? What is the origin and history of the onion? The wild onion is extinct, and ancient records using onions span Western, Eastern Asia. The geographic origin of the onion is uncertain, with likely domestication worldwide. We've been using onions forever. Because the bulb is durable and storable. That makes sense. Onion was supposed to improve ocular ailments, aid in sleep, and heal everything from oil sores to toothaches to dog bites, lumbago, and even dysentery. In the Age of Discovery, onions were taken to North America by the first European settlers, only to discover the plant readily available and widely in use in Native Americans. So the onion is just a global food. Onions are a primarily flavor-based dish, apparently. At least for humans. I didn't know that, actually. That's really interesting. Wait, what? Your favorite what? I wasn't paying enough attention. That's cool. That's really cool. I love that there's a word called flavonoid. Oh, okay. I use red wine vinegar a lot, but like that seems like a terrible thing to mix with onion. If I'm just gonna eat onion raw. Although apple vinegar is really strong. Woof. That's a very specific smell. Oh. Huh. Water chestnuts can be ground into a flour. That's interesting. I love that this has become me learning about various plants. I bet you can't grind celery into flour. I bet it doesn't make a flour though. Like I bet you can't make any. You can't use it as a flour. Isn't dried celery like a spice or an herb? Yeah, you get celery salt. Alright, are we going with big tomatoes or little tomatoes? Big. Big tomatoes. Except I'm gonna put tomato where it belongs. In the fruit category. Alright, so the veggies I've got written down. Alright, River. See ya. The veggies I've got written down are carrots, cabbage, water chestnut, onions. They use rice, tuber, and mushroom as their very specific... Ah! Curse you, Google! Fully edible. Commonly eaten. Cool. Sure. Leafy green, annual harvest. Are carrots an annual harvest? It doesn't really matter that much. No, carrots are not an annual harvest. So they're a biennial plant, which means they have a lifespan of 2 years. But they mature within 3 months. Only reason I know that is because I read about biennial like 2 minutes ago. And yeah, these are all going to be like alien plants, but I did deliberately link everything together so that there is a commonality of biodiversity and like biosphere on many of the planets in this world. And I did that deliberately because no, so it sounds like from the way I'm reading this, a biennial is a flower that takes, so first year it grows, and then the second summer is when it flowers and then produces fruits and seeds. But some biennials can complete their life cycle in 3 months instead of 2 years. So modern carrot planting technique has them producing rapidly. What did I do with my cabbage? So left on its own, I think it's a 2-year cycle before you can get carrot, but modern cultivation and everything. That would be an interesting one. We will slap that. Make it a fruit? Let's make it a fruit. Some type of fruit. Oh, actually, I have a very specific crop that I made up for a D&D game. Australian plant. That is very specifically a non-food. Now, my trick is because I'm in like an hyper-industrialized, interstellar era of time for the most part. Like, that food is readily available most of the time because the cycles have been have been set up in a way. And actually, mine's going to be every 3 years because 3 is a magic number in my world. Alright, where in these notes? Let's go to my tabletop RPG notes. It wasn't the Wanderings. Was it a one-off? No, it wasn't the hospital game. Defunct RPG. Pathfinder tabletop. The Butterleaf Festival. I mean, 3 is a magical number no matter what, and I just made it so that my people count on a base of 3. Butterleaf tree. This is my olive oil stand-in. It's probably not called a butterleaf because honestly, some type of okay, the types of fruit in the world. Types of fruit. There's a lot of different types of fruit. Apple. Apricot. Avocado. Banana. Blackberry. These aren't what I want. These are just different fruits. It's going to be a berry. So they are 4-fingered, and they count. So technically it's base 9, but it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So if I'm gonna guess, they probably still do 3, because it's more visible than doing, each knuckle. But that's how they learned to count, or that's how they developed accounting was counting the knuckles. So it's either this or this. I'm not 100% sure. It's probably this. You're right, though. Hand counting... it's really easy to count this, but it's hard to demonstrate counts on... Hold on. Gestures. Informational. Showing of numbers. One hand. So, what they do, thumb, what is the thumb, pointer, middle, index. 1, 2, 3. Thumb, pointer, middle. 4 to 4, 5, or 4, 5, 6, 4 to 6. 4 to 6 is pointer, middle, index. 7 to 9 is thumb, is so they do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what I want them to do is, I don't know if I can actually do it because human hand muscles, is 7, 8, or no, 7, 8, no, this one has to stay up. 7, 8, 9. Index plus thumb. Not thumber. Index plus pointer. And thumb. I was assuming they had 5 fingers for a while, and then I had to really argue with. I had that argument with somebody, or not argument, but I had a friend who was like, "No, that doesn't make any sense." I really like base 3, so I like basing, they do things in a 9 count. They have 3 seasons. Each season is a multiple of... Sweet. Thank you for that detour into how they count with their hands. Yeah, so like technically they've got 4 seasons, but I haven't decided if I want to keep month. But it's 9 months in a year. What is it? 63 seconds to a minute, 63 minutes to an hour, 27 hours in a day. All weeks are 9 days long. Months are 36 days a month. There are 9 months in a year, 324 days in a year, which actually averages out to about 1.1 Terran standard years. So I kind of had to retroactively justify their base 9 system, which is why I took off their pinky and made them do knuckle counting, because there are base 12 systems in the world. And the base 12 system also comes from knuckle counting. Like, in our world, our real world. I ended up doing a deep dive into different number counting systems and why there are different base counts, like, in human culture, even though we all have 10 fingers. Alright. All of that craziness was to essentially say... Thank you for this. This is actually super useful. So, major cooking oil is butter leaf for now, or vegetable oil. cherry 1, apple 1, 2, 4. Multiple types of apple, cherries 1 to 4. Multiple types of cherry. Berries 2 to 7. I actually want that types of fruit. So if they've got apples, got different types of cherries. 1 citrus 1. Categories of fruit. Oh, just that doesn't. Apples and pears are considered a type of fruit. So there's citrus. There's going to be a bunch of different. That's 1 to pear. One of these is going to be a pear-like. Leafy greens, lettuce, cruciferous. Oh, I do want there to be a squash. Squash 1. We will do pumpkin style. Got roots. Oh, I need an edible stem. Edible stem. 1. Do you like my brilliant naming convention? Then they need legumes. What kind of legumes do they eat? It's going to be lentils. There are other legumes. Beans 1 to 3. This is a very useful page that I am bookmarking. Even if this does appear to be a little Western-centric. See, bananas are weird and exotic. And they're probably not something they eat. Stone fruit. Huh. One and 2. All right. Squash 2. Edible stem 1. Okay. I need one more leafy green too. Oh, that's the other thing they eat. They've got sea silk. Where's their sea silk? Sea silk's an animal, but that means they also have kelp, which might technically qualify as a leafy green. Kelp, edible. Edible seaweed, Wikipedia. They are marine algae. It's an informal term for a group of photosynthetic eukaryotic organisms not necessarily closely related. Thanks for hanging out, Silent. I know this has been a weird me muttering about food types. Seaweed. There's a lot of different types of seaweed. We're going to go with kelp for this one. Kelp. Oh, interesting. There's sea grape. Well, let me put it back up here. There's sea grapes. Ah, it also makes an oil. Ha ha ha. So kelp is a brown algae. Holy crap. Okay, you know what? These are going to not be under vegetables. These are going to be under algae. Which I didn't know was a category of plant. I believe it's in the food. Major cooking oil. Seaweed oil. Animal fats. ... This is a huge list of different types of seaweed. But we're going to do kelp. And we're going to do sea grapes. So the trick here is this society is explicitly not. So this is, algae is a later development of foodstuffs. Australian society is not a major naval entity. Okay, so I've got a bunch of different foods. Or a bunch of different plants. Good. Now, let's roll over to the Beastery. Dralian Empire creatures, domesticated. So they've got the Silkworm and the Silk Weaver. The Silkworm is just a silkworm. Silkworm. I apologize for the background sound of a month. The Silk Weaver is an aquatic creature. Produces silk. Alright, so in categories of domesticated, we've got fiber producing, producer of animal fiber. Alright, we've got animal producing. Then I need... what do we call horses? What would you categorize? Labor? And then we've got food. What are my Verge network creatures? My generic creatures are deer, elk, goat, sheep, Terran, crows, and other Terran birds. So anything any of these people have domesticated, it should probably fall under Draker as well. So we got goat. I need fowl. Domesticated. Alright, let's see. This is fowl. Oh, interesting. Poultry. What do we have? Poultry is any kind of domesticated and traditionally has been referred to as what, but not caged birds such as songbirds or parrots. We got chicken, duck, emu, Egyptian goose, regular goose. Pigeon, quail, turkey, pheasant, duck and chicken for sure. It's going to be a wildly different variant of duck and chicken, but they're going to meet the same. They're literally called edible nest swiftlets. Where did they get the name? Oh. Oh, that's gross. Did it update, or did you end up getting the Windows 10 version of it? These birds generate a nest made out of solidified saliva that is used in bird nest soup. I don't like that. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Oh, how loud is all that background noise for you guys on the stream? I've got really good headphones on. That works. It's not a vacuum, it's, I think they're leaf blowing or something. Actually, this is kind of gross, but like super interesting. Because it's a very different methodology or style of food. And it's a very weird type of farming. It's a very weird type of farming. Because what they're doing is farming not the bird, but the nest. This is really cool. It's gross, but cool. We're gonna do... pheasant. Not livestock, livestock. Give me a list of the livestock in the world. Alpaca, fiber primarily. What is the addex? Okay, so I need a type of bull. So I got the goat. Duck, specific species. Species name. Pheasant 1 and 2. Alright, so I need a cattle of some description. So I've got goats. I need cattle. What are they called? So I need cattle. Labor is Verep. And then I need ox. Primary work. I almost said primary workhorse. Primary workhorse animal. And I need a cattle specifically because their primary mounts are carnivorous by preference. We're gonna go probably with a domesticated deer. So elk species. Domesticate. Elk function. Imperium's primary cattle. So they've got a domesticated goat. The milk isn't commonly drunken. This is primarily Highlander animal originally. Oh, how could I forget the boar? Of course they have pig. Pig. Domesticated boar species. It's a pig. Boar, goat, deer, elk. Land mammals. Avians. Crows. Swallows. Triple birds. Song. Birds. Geese. What are other migratory birds? Oh, ducks. Ducks. Dotted birds. Ah, so many. Bird migration. No, that doesn't help. I didn't know hummingbirds were migratory. Cranes. Actually, this isn't crows, this is... Corvids. Rabbits. Stupid little noceums are in my... Squirrels. Gophers. Large cats. Cougars. Tigers. Blue lions. Wolves. Bears. Gecko. Snakes. Insects. Mosquitoes. Flies. Beetles. Ants. Spiders, which I know aren't an insect, but... Ooh. I will be right back. There we go. Thrush. Hawks, owls, eagles. Mosquitoes, flies, beetles, ants. Oh, I forgot my rodents. How could I forget my rodents? Mice. Rats. I got a few rodents, actually. Just a generalized random list. It's creepy crawlies? Yeah, I thought about that. Scorpions. Scorpions. I wanted a bigger list of generic creatures that I could pull from, because I'm using very similar biodiversities. And I'm missing thousands of different types of creatures. But I can't just keep referencing deer or goats. But boar is important. Oh, interesting. I like the way you word that. Aerials, terrestrials, and aquatics. Honestly, pig is probably a major source of animal proteins. Second largest. Pigs breed so fast. And then they've got an elk species or a deer species that is their primary cattle. What type of creature is a water buffalo? Or a ox? Because we've domesticated... Yeah, bovine, that's the word I wanted. We domesticated bovine creatures so long ago in our history. Food cattle. Ox. There's some bovine variant. What was the bovine ancient Rome? Oh, it's a bull. Two. What is the bovine creature? Temperate. There's no way I'm going to find what a normal bovine would be in a temperate region because they are so ridiculously interbred. So there are two main types. There are the Zebu, which are set for the tropical, and the Bostaurus, or taurine. So I'm more interested in the taurine. Taurine. Yeah. See, I'm probably done at about 2, so hopefully you make it back before then. If not, I'll see you later. I'm learning so much. Yeah, I'm Central Time. It's about an hour, so yeah. Thanks for hanging out, especially for this weirdness. So I'm interested in a draught. The milking. So I'm not interested as it as meat. Thanks, that doesn't help me at all, Google. You're welcome. God, cows are ugly. Primarily. Well, primarily bred for drama. Probably not. Yes. What are the other draught animals we have in our society? Alpaca analog is going to be primarily that, but there's also going to be this is a society without dogs. That breaks my heart a little bit. Subspecies of rat fill similar niches to dogs in human culture. I still don't know if I want my Verep to be scaled. I don't know if I like that, or if they're just a large cat. Common, feline, also domesticated. Hello, Half-Baked. Good. I went down a rabbit hole of world building for food. And now I'm kind of futzing around with some common animals that my primary species uses. But really the important bit was like what kind of animal proteins. Definitely elk species. Copy. Link to paragraph. Specialty. So the prompt I had that I was going to come into this with was write your character eating a meal. What kind of meal is it? What is the food involved in the meal, etc. And how are they reacting to it? Is it a formal meal? Is it fast food? Is it whatever? And I realized I couldn't write my characters eating meals because I'm not using humans, and I'm not using Terran culture, technically, as my, like, guiding... as my primary thing. So it kind of looped me into a, like, circular, I am stuck. So, yeah, because my world building specifically calls for, not every world, but a major through line of equivalent biodiversity and diversity just through, like, blah 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 magic. Reasons there's a lot of worlds, a lot of the habitable worlds are linked. So you had the natural crossover and the similar biome and biodiversity. Not everything's the same, but it's a very similar. So currently they eat rice. It's not Terran rice, but it is. My favorite way sci-fi deals with it a lot of the time is it's pseudo rice. It's not technically Terran rice, but it functionally fills the same niche and functionally is used in a very similar manner. Also, my aliens are humanoids, so they're going to eat in a similar manner to us. Also, there's a certain, like, I've walked myself into a trap where literally everything is ultra alien because aliens have to be ultra alien to us, and at which point there's very little that is relatable, or you end up in the tropes of like aliens eat all these weird things that are like full of bugs and creepy crawlies and ooh, and that's not a effective, you know. That works if your perspective characters are human, and you want to show the aliens as being weird, creepy freaks. I'm going at it from like, all right, what is their staple agrarian food source? You know, and building from like, okay, these are their staple agrarian and livestock food sources. So that gets us to what is their food, you know, what is some things that their food designed. So their primary agrarian staple is some kind of rice. They also use some kind of tuber, which is functionally a potato. And they also really they also use mushroom as a major, like, not protein source. It would be technically a protein source.
Unread messages at your private terminal, Commander.
But part of that is, like, because the biomes are similar, boar are a crazy invasive species that just go forever. So they're going to have some version of pig. It'll be a space chicken, but it's going to be a chicken. So in order, the primary protein sources are probably going to be the mushroom, the elk species, the pig, and then the chicken. Eventually with food development. Breads. Breads. They don't use butter. This is a non-dairy species. Honestly, it's a non-dairy culture primarily. But the reason I approached it this way was because what this means for me is if rice is their primary grain, or their primary starch. Rice flour or rice flour doesn't historically comport itself very well for breads. Not unless you have cereal grains like wheat as well. So traditionally that means rice is going to be a different, so you're going to get rice cakes, rice noodles, and some basic flatbreads, unleavened breads. But you're not going to get baguettes, and that's going to change what the cuisine is. Which is important because it changes. It's a knock-on effect of like, all right, so you don't use bread as a major source of, so you use these, so you use noodles, which means if you're going to use noodles, there's a million different ways to use noodles, but they're going to be different from the pasta dishes. Or they're going to be a lot more like the pasta dishes in Italy, or the ramen, or the fried noodles of the Far East. So their primary dishes are rice side or stir fries. Probably. Oh. Tea. So if you're primarily this, but you're also this. What was my legume? Alcohols are going to be primarily rice base. Rice balls. Conky. Oh, I almost forgot. That's a really important thing to have. Herbs and spices. We will have to get back to that because that is its own whole nightmare. Some version of garlic if they've got onions. Vinegar. Vinegar is going to be popular. Salt is universal. I want a couple different squashes. Yeah, that'll be good. Probably for something like Shangdo, something a little more northern. But I want a rice staple cuisine to borrow slightly from, or at least borrow in terms of processes. Oh, I forgot about nuts. Nuts. Well, legumes and nuts. And nuts. So there's definitely oaks, there's definitely chestnuts, acorns. I don't want a coastal. Maybe one. Or Zhang. Sorry, I'm doing my Wikipedia on the wrong screen. This is interesting. Let's see. So I'm interested in the common cooking techniques. Stir, stews. Oh yeah, stews are a huge deal. Stews are always a huge deal. Stews. Stir fries. The reason I have to look at Chinese stylization is I can't think of a non-maritime rice culture. And these people are specifically a non-maritime. They have maritime. There is some maritime, but it's not a major maritime power. So your fish are going to mostly be freshwater. Although that gets really weird as they spread across. There's a million different food styles. Fish, primarily freshwater. Aquatics, primarily freshwater. Species, traditionally. Oh, I bet Southeast Asia has an interesting rice culture. Let's go look at India. Thailand. Yeah, let's go look at Thailand. So figuring out, there's 3 empires, so the DRU and the Imperium are going to have shifted from baseline Dralian. The Union, or the Dominion, will have not, in terms of flavors and dish styles, but what I'm setting up right now are baseline, what the Empire used. Ow. Empire has the Carnarvon, the Halinois, which are an omnivorous avioid. They might actually be a bug-eating species. Halinois cuisine is going to be a very different style of cuisine. Empyrean culture. Cuisine. Avian-based dishes feature birds and mountain herbs. Goat. Primary. Cereal. Carnarvon culture, Carnarvon cuisine. Meat heavy. Primarily BBQ and roasts with or stewed vegetables. Where does the Carnarvons get their starch from? Oh, they're the tubers. Okay. Their starch is tubers. Sweet! That gives me a history tuber. Primarily a Carnarvon cuisine. Long since integrated. Compares. Case. Carnarvon favor not deities. Diets. A primarily carnivorous diet. Reflects that. Many sauces and spices. Different mix. Primarily potato. So Faya cuisine is going to be very British, very Irish, very Gaelic, Roman, French. Primary starch here is wheat. Dairy specific culture needs its own category. Dairy. Dairy. Cuisine. The rice dish is so common in Korean food. The dairy heavily influenced by Faya culture. It is a major wheat based diet. Only major wheat based diet. Oh, this food is so important. Cuisine. Okay. Cuisine. Splinters. Primarily rice dishes. Tubers are far less common. Starch. Even the Dominion primary most Food is such an important part of history, and it's something I've been like avoiding because it's such a complex it's such a complex thing. But the empire as a whole conquered specifically the Carnarvon and the Halinwa so early and like so many thousands of years before the Civil War. And I'm trying to find at least one other subspecies to put in there. That like those subspecies are essentially the core part of the empire. It's the Italian, all the different subgenres of Italian cooking that became Roman cooking once Rome conquered all of Italy. It's that base idea of like, no, these were such a fundamental base of the empire that even though the Civil War got split, like, yeah, they might not favor these because these dishes as much anymore because they've driven out most of that subculture. It's still going to have heavily informed their culture. To baseline Dragon Empire of the Three Splinters. One species has influenced major regional cuisines. Baseline turn. Influenced by Draper, Hoganwall. The Dominion, the influence of the centuries since the But influenced by those species, cultures, cuisines. Carnarvon preferred largely fallen out with the wild bird. I need an aquatic subspecies, an aquatic subfaction. That'll be the fourth Dralian culture. No. TOI nations. TOI nations. Dralian Empire and Splinters. Dralian Empire itself. Major species. Draker. Primary dominant species. Halinois. Carnarvon. Carnarvon. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Naval slash coastal culture. Represents a lot of diaspora. Carnarvon. Early. Empire. Territory. Post Shadow Wars. We're not going to use tribal. I don't want the Hulun West coded tribal. Hulun West. Actually, the Linwas have a very specific history. As a multinational, but unless I'm rewriting Carnarvon history here. Oh shit. Yeah, it is a Diaspora. Alright, I'm seeing one major culture. History of Carnarvon, history of Linwell. Alright, I need a major maritime culture. What would be a major... Ah, that's the word I wanted. I keep saying naval, but I want a major... No, major maritime culture probably wouldn't fall to the Empire. I want a... There's three major... Or there's going to be four major species of the Dralian Empire. I'm trying to figure out what that fourth major species is. Because the Vezion are not the fourth major species because they are a post-Civil War conqueror. Post-Civil War Imperium. Same with the Formia. They're a post-Civil War Imperium. These are post-Civil War... These are photomimetic. These are probably a post-Civil War Imperium conquer as well. So the Halinwa and the Carnarvon are... Empire client race. Honestly, they're just Empire member races at this point. Empire. Empire member race, Empire member race. Palawami are post-Civil War Imperium. So I need one more. Fourth Empire. Fourth member race. Sweet. It is 2 o'clock. I'm gonna have to come back to this fourth member race. But that fourth member race will be the last of the Empire's races. Which will give me 4 melting pot cultures. You did! It's 2 o'clock for me. I've got to get out of here. But I've realized I need one more member race that will fit the old Empire and kind of the original foundational, which will give me like a nice mix of species and cultures that I don't... 3 just seems a little too few. 4 seems like it's a good, healthy mix. I don't know why. But I have major dish styles, sort of. I've got some basic ideas for the food now, which will be really a nice change in pace. Well, it'll let me do some world building that I've kind of avoided. Oh, they do have chocolate, though. Or some chocolate equivalent. I gotta make that note, and then I'm gonna bounce. But yes, welcome back. Goodbye. I have to make this note before I leave. Botany. We'll call it a legume, I think. Chocolate. I don't know why I really want chocolate, but I really want chocolate. Alright, thanks everybody who came and hung out while I muttered to myself and learned a bunch about botany and basic domestication history throughout human history. Oh, it'd be really cool if they had a giant rabbit. Sorry. Carnivore domesticated species is a giant rabbit. I'm so easily distracted. Carnivore domesticate. A species of giant, like, dog-sized rabbit that serves as their primary fourth member race. This member race was conquered by main arms primarily. Welcome, Black Iron Badger. I'm about to head out, but yes, it's been a lot of world building. Giant species of rabbit that serves as their primary. Neat. I did a lot of work today. Thanks, everybody. Sorry, Black Iron. I'll be back next week. I usually do 10:30-ish Central Time to about 1 or 2 Central Time. Honestly, I'm probably going to do world building next week. But maybe I'll actually put some of this writing to get all this world building into, like, a meal. I'll do some meal planning. That'll be fun. Alright, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with me babbling. That's a mistake. I made a mistake. Everybody have a good day. Bye.